Yo, hey folks, it's Kevin, Big K Horror, and I'm going to do a quick review that's actually a reply to another cool YouTuber horror movie dude that's named John Grande, and he asked me to do a video response, and this is going to be my video response to his pretty cool idea, which is the video for horror movies I love that most people hate. So I figure, I have a huge list of those. So I'm going to start with mine, and I'm going to hammer through them so I can try to get this video in as quick a time as possible, because the last one I did of this exact same subject earlier rejected the video like 4 times. So I'm wondering if it's just the length. But anyhow, I'm going to hammer through this. Alright, so to start, this movie, a lot of people criticized and didn't like, and I don't understand how, because it scared the shit out of me, but it was not really a horror film, but it dealt with some horror aspects of our true nature that really happened. And I'm talking about Spike Lee's Summer of Sam. This movie, I thought, really captured the summer of '77 in New York City very well, with all the things that happened with the baseball, the blackout, the disco, and then of course David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, with the gun, killing people randomly out in the streets at night. Like, this movie scared me. So, the son of Sam does get it. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Summer of Sam gets it. All right. Next one is another part of a franchise, and I know a lot of people disliked it, but I saw it when I was a young kid, and of course it was the third one of the series I saw, because there's 3 of them. But this one, a lot of people crap on, but I like it. I mean, I know it's hokey and corny, and it doesn't stand up to the legacy of the original, but still, it's a fun kind of supernatural monster movie kind of thing, and that is Poltergeist 3. Carol Ann's Heather Ruick's last film, unfortunately, before her demise. But I mean, she does good in this, and I thought, you get a young Laura Flynn Boyle, and it's got Nancy Allen, from Carrie and whatnot in it, and Tom Skerritt, yeah. Anyhow, Poltergeist 3 was part of my childhood nostalgia, so that's probably another reason why I like it so much. But it's just a fun supernatural movie. Okay, moving on. This one is a sequel that was wasn't controversial, but people were kind of pissed about the sequel, and it kind of got the H2O treatment with returning an original member from the original '70s film into the new one, working at the school. And if you know what I'm talking about, I am talking about The Rage Carrie Part 2. Now, yes, the sequel's not perfect. It has some of a bad script, somewhat, with some of the dialogue, and some of the actors chosen, yeah. But still, no, this movie, I think, really delivers, especially with the party massacre scene at the end, with like the CDs flying and people's eyeglasses breaking into their eyeballs and gashing them, and spear guns to the groin. This movie had it all going on, and just glass breaking everywhere and things being set on fire. It was just cool. I could identify with this movie. But yes, it's hokey in some places, but it's still a fun sequel. It's still a respectable bit of a sequel, I think. Okay, moving on. Now, this movie, a lot of people say it's a ripoff, and maybe it is a ripoff, right down to the title, but I loved it. It scared me. It scared me, actually, I think, a little more than the movie it was ripping off. And I am referring to the St. Francisville Experiment. I think from '99 or 2000. Yeah, this movie did scare me, and it came out right after Blair Witch Project. This movie takes place in one of the New Orleans plantations, where one of the most, I forgot her name, but she's one of the most criminal women in New Orleans history that like tortured people and her slaves and stuff like that. Horrible person, but it was about her ghost. Anyway, another franchise title. Now, I know John Grande didn't want to do a lot of franchise titles, which I'm kind of, there's only 2 other ones I'm going to do, but I think they belong on the list, just because. But I'm voting the major franchises like, Jason, Freddy, and stuff, but there is going to be one Friday the 13th and one Nightmare on Elm Street, and this one is going to be Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Okay? I think this movie kicks ass, but a lot of people don't like it. I grew up with this as well as nostalgia for me, because I like this movie since like the 4th grade, but pretty much, I thought the special effects were badass. I thought the idea was badass, being possessed by Freddy. It was interesting that they put a male lead in for the final girl instead of, and then of course, about all the gay overtones and stuff. That's interesting, but that's not what pulls me into it. It pulls me into it because it's more of a possession, Freddy possessed by Freddy kind of movie. And I don't know, I always kind of liked it. But it's not my favorite one in the series, but I like it. Alright, let's see here. Oh, Okay, this one came out last summer, and I thought it was a good return to the director's roots of his more of his classic original stuff. But a lot of people didn't think so, and also because it was kind of a remake, and that is Dark Shadows. I really love this movie. I thought it was a great return to his old creature kind of not creature feature, but you know what I mean. It has ghosts, witches, werewolves, vampires. Like, I mean, it's classic Burton in my opinion. It has, Chloe Grace Moretz in it, of course, and Michelle Pfeiffer and Johnny Depp, and you can't go wrong with that. I don't think the movie never bored me because I'm also a big fan of both incarnations of the television series, the revival of the '90s and the original soap opera from the '60s into the '70s. But yeah, I mean, I love this movie, so probably like that's a rare thing to hear. All right, the next one is a Dario Argento film. It was more of his recent ones, although I'm not a fan of a lot of his recent movies. I like all the way up until Sleepless. Sleepless was his last good movie, I think. That came out in 2001. But this one I just did like. I liked because it reminded me of like a very violent Harry Potter or something. But that's Mother of Tears, which is the third part to Suspiria and Inferno, and it's nothing like those films whatsoever. Nothing as classic status as those films, but it's still a gory, nasty, mean, but interesting and like an original movie nonetheless. So I enjoyed it. This is one of Wes Craven's titles that a lot of people are against, and I understand that. But you know what? Before I was into horror movies, like maybe about like in '88, by '88 I was into them, but I was real young. But around '87, '88, I saw a movie on television my dad was watching. I walked in on the clip of a girl tossing a basketball at an old woman's head, and her head everywhere. All right, that made me scream and cry like no one's business. And that movie I'm talking about is Deadly Friend. Okay. Yes, this movie is bizarre. Yes, this movie probably doesn't even stick to the wall very well. The things they threw at the wall didn't stick, but still, nostalgia-wise, I love it. All right, I guess I'm getting repetitive with the nostalgia thing. I don't mean to be, but I like this movie. Yes, it's bizarre, it's weird. I'm like a talking robot, what? But it bothered me when I was a little kid, and I always will remember that whole basketball scene. So to me, it deserves a little praise, but it's hated. This next one is also hated, but I love it. Again, nostalgia, all right? And it was just a fun PG horror film. I thought for a PG horror film, it was fucking cool. And that is Amityville 3D, also known as Amityville 3 The Demon. Anyway, but yes, I enjoy this one. Okay, the next set is going to be a newer franchise, and that's the Paranormal Activities. And yes, I love these films, even Part 4. Now, Part 4 wasn't my favorite one. Part 3 is my favorite one, but Part 4 still, I was entertained with it. It didn't bother me whatsoever. I love these films, though, so I will take a bullet for this. I'm sure I will, but I love them. I'm a paranormal whore. All right. In Mike Grundy's video, he also mentioned this one, but I'll give it a quick shout out, but I won't stay on it. Jeepers Creepers 2. I love this sequel. When I saw it in the theaters on opening night, I thought it was a blast. The whole entire theater that was packed, loved it. And yet people bash it and hate on it, and I think it did what a sequel should do. More, bigger. I'm not saying it's better than the original because I don't think it is. The original is a good slice of American cinema, and yes, we all know about his past, Victor Salva's past, but I'm talking about horror films here. I'm not talking about people's pasts. So I hate to say that, but that goes with anyone with any crime they've ever done. The horror movie speaks to me more than what their personal life does. Anyway, moving on. This movie I liked just because it was original for the time. It wasn't a remake. It wasn't a sequel. It wasn't based on a teen book. I don't know, but Jennifer's Body. I think this movie was a very well-made, fun film along the lines of Heathers, Jawbreaker, that kind of thing. So I fully enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought Megan Fox did great for what she had to do with her role, but Amanda Seyfried was the one I really liked. And it had some good. It was funny. I mean, it genuinely made me laugh, and I thought it was just a new, interesting concept. This rock band wants to become famous overnight, so they try to think they found a virgin to kill, and she's not so much a virgin, so she comes back as a man-eating demon, and I love that. And her friends like stop her. I loved it. All right. Another cool movie that was I saw in theaters that people didn't really like, but I liked, and I'm going to say it real quick, the Killer Tooth Fairy movie, which is Darkness Falls. I actually enjoyed this film. I haven't really watched it in a long time, but I remember enjoying it in theater, and once after I watched it when I bought it. Okay, the next one is a total sleaze B movie that belongs in the 70s, 80s, but I liked it. It had some torture element to it, which I don't like, but other than that, the actress in it and the things she had to do, like be a stripper, was just unreal to me at the time. And I'm talking about I Know Who Killed Me. And I know this movie's not great by no means, and I'm not saying it is, but I liked it, and I know a lot of people hated it, but I liked it. It has like a lot of red and blue hues of color throughout it, like a Dario Argento film, and it was a total great B flick. Alright, exploitation flick or whatnot, you could say exploitation. Okay, the next is a sequel as well to a supernatural series that some people just don't like. Some people do, some people don't, but I loved the sequel. A lot of people hated it, and the scores on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes kind of prove that it's not liked, but I love it. I thought it was creepy and great, and that was The Grudge Part 2. Came out in 2006, I believe, October 2006. I loved it. That's just my opinion. So, alright. The next one is a very brutal, sadistic backroad movie, kind of like, and I think it's the modern day equivalent of the 1974 original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that movie that I saw on Christmas night as it opened, which was the wrong night to open this movie, was Wolf Creek. Alright, this movie to me is the equivalent of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it gets under my skin and unnerves me and scares me. The next movie is one of my favorites from last year. It's not my absolute favorite, but it's one of my favorites. This is my top 5 favorites of 2012. A lot of people saw this movie and didn't get it, and that's cool. Or they just didn't like it. That's cool. But I loved it, and it had elements of a slasher film, high school comedy, time travel, and body switching, and all this shit in one movie, and that was Detention. I loved this movie. It grew on me, though. Like, the first time I watched it, I was like, what the did I just watch? And then the second and third time, by the third time I was like, this is genius. Genius. Alright. Let's see here. The next one is a part 4 to a series that a lot of people just never gave a chance, because they knew Mary Lou was not in it, and it had no concern, no plot. Jamie Lee Curtis's part 1. So, but I loved it. It had a creepy killer priest in it, killing people who do sins. And that's Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. I love this 90s sequel. I thought it was awesome. Alright. Next up is one that actually John Grande already covered, but I have to. It was the first thing that popped in my head when I heard the subject, and I have to put it in mine too, and that is Halloween, the Kristen Michael Myers. I love this effing movie so much. I'm not gonna lie. I saw it in the theater when I was in the beginning of my 9th grade year when it came out in September of '95, and I saw this movie with my friends like 2 or 3 times because every time we went to the mall, we'd go see it and we'd get in. So we were underage though, but anyway, I enjoyed it. I think it's better than Part 5, and it's better than Resurrection. I like the producer's cut, and I like this cut. I think Michael Myers returns back to his scary shape roots. And George Wilbur's performance in this and the mask actually kind of fucking scare me. Like, just legitimately scare me. And it has some cool, brutal deaths, and I love Kara Strode as a heroine in this. So, okay, moving on. And this is going to be the last of the franchises I mentioned, but I have to mention this one. I saw this, and this is my first horror movie I ever saw in the theater. But it's not my first horror movie I ever saw, just the first one I saw in the theater. And that is Jason Goes to Hell. And I think, yes, it's hated upon, and it's not really a Jason movie, and it's not, but it is a damn good fun movie nonetheless. The Diner Massacre sequence alone is worth watching this. But I love this Jason Goes to Hell movie. I think it was something different it was something different when you want something different, you know? Okay, and the last two. Black Christmas remake. Okay, I don't. Nothing will ever beat the original Bob Clark 1974 film. It's in my top 3 best horror films of all time. This, however, I don't view as a remake. I view it as like a just another sorority house slasher film set during the Yuletide, killings. That's all. That's how I look at this, and I enjoy it that way. It's a fun movie, but it's not like the original. Will never be like the original. It's comical. The original is really scary and intense and frightening. Alright, last but not least is a slasher film from the 80s that I love. It mixes the supernatural possession shit with slashers, and that is Killer Party. A great Canadian horror flick that I love, love, love. Very USA Up All Night as well. If you miss and you're in the days of USA Up All Night, then you'll definitely dig this. So yeah, that is my list right now that I could think of for movies that I like or love that other people hate. So if y'all have ideas, y'all do a video like this too. But I hope John Grande, I hope you check this out and so you see my list. It was quite big. Anyway, peace out.